You're listening to Ask When, the podcast. Folks from all walks of life talk about their daily hustle and bustle, living and celebrating life, sharing tips on becoming champions, especially for those who are muscling mental and physical disabilities. Ask When, the podcast, with your host, who has mustered over 30 years living with cerebral palsy and going strong, author and cerebral palsy advocate, Wynn Charles. Ask When, the podcast starts right now.
Welcome to Ask When, everyone. And this afternoon I have David with me. And so I'm going to let David take it away and share his story with you guys.
Thank you so much, Wynn. I'm really happy to be here. I always find one of the weirdest things in the world after being asked what my favorite book or movie is, because once I ask, I forget I've ever walked into a theater, is being asked to tell my story. And I think the reason why is because my story really wraps around not identifying with any one thing. If I go to a networking event and someone says, "What do you do?" I don't know how to answer that question. So that's really the defining part of my story. I do a lot of things. I'm the kind of person I grew up doing a lot of things. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, with a family. We were, mostly poverty, and my parents never let that be an issue. God bless them. And so I was always encouraged to do things no matter what it took or what the means were. I was big into science. I was big into reading, and that really taught me something that is not often something we always get, and it's the ability to overcome by not being drugged down by the reality of circumstance. Circumstance is such a real thing. There are barriers and accessibility problems and transparency problems in this world, and my parents taught me a type of I don't even know what to call it, a je ne sais quoi, something that just allowed me to feel free to struggle, practice, and try new things all in equal ways. So, since then, I've, like I said, got really involved in technology and science early. As soon as I got out of high school, I was freelancing, and I focused a lot of my work on futurism, especially where it had to do with health and wellness. I love the idea, and this just happens to me because I was born in the 80s, and I was really influenced by the ideas of the future. Androids, robotics, cyber warfare, all of that stuff was intriguing to me. So I thought, could we build a better future? Could we be very involved in building a future? And it's a mindset that really followed through with me. As a result, I've been involved in politics. I've run for mayor in my city. I've given TED Talks on futurism, on technology. I'm a writer, a business owner. I have 3 wonderful, rascally children, 3 daughters. And I try to, teach them the same thing, and they all have taken the lesson. They've tried things, and they are in every possible way as much like me and as much not like me as I could possibly imagine, which is really exciting to watch them all splinter into their own selves.
It is interesting that you say that, that you are so interested in technology. And I just came up with this today as you were speaking. I was also born at the end of the 80s, and so my goodness, now it dawned on me why I'm so interested in technology, because in the 90s we didn't have Google, we didn't have Snapchat, we didn't have Twitter, we didn't have Facebook, you guys. And so that's why David and I are so interested in the new great technologies, because we didn't have those luxuries.
Exactly. We saw a huge change across our generation where suddenly,
Yes, we did.
yeah, huge. Technology was aspirational. We saw movies talking about artificial intelligence and putting our minds on the internet and a whole bunch of crazy stuff. And it was sci-fi. And then one day I woke up and it wasn't. So,
So So, David, okay, if you had to move house for the exception of your family, what would you take?
If I had
5
to,
things.
if I had moved,
If you had to
so,
move and only take 5 things with you for the exception of your daughters, what would you
mhm,
take?
that's good because they already take up 3 slots. I would say the things that mean the most to me. Um, that's a really big question. I don't attach to a lot of physical things. I think the very first thing is my wardrobe. I identify with the way I express myself, and so, my turtlenecks and my jackets. That's a really. I realize it's a weird thing to say, but it's an answer for me. I'm a martial artist, and so I collect some items in martial arts. And so I think I'd take one thing with me so I can continue to practice that, boxing gloves and or one of my swords, interchangeable, as long as I can practice. Um, I live online as my work, so I'd have to take my laptop, no brainer. I would have to take a journal. I would go crazy if I couldn't scribble and I couldn't write things down. And I would have to take my crazy feline, Salvador. He's my cat, and he's a pest, and I love him so much, and he has to come.
Salvador, the crazy cat. Well, I have a couple crazy cats in my life. Yeah, my my stepsister has a cat, and that cat is so humanly based, and that cat loves attention. Theodore, you love attention, and I'm saying that publicly. I love you dearly, Theo, but you love attention, and every time I haven't seen the cat for months, obviously, longer than that because of
Hmm.
something. But every time I try and move out the door, he tries to get out the door be behind me, and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
okay, you obviously don't know your lesson. You know, and people having to help me get out the door and hold the cat and help me, and so it's all like it's a interesting show because yes, yes, and I love him to pieces, but it's like, okay, you are not the typical cat. You
They can be handfuls.
oh, you're not kidding. You're not kidding. And no, and he partially lives with my sister, partially lives with me when she's home. And so it's like, okay, now I have to get catified again after this social distancing thing because I'm like, okay, you obviously are not the typical cat. You want attention. So
Yeah.
the Rascal Cats.
Yes. I
Yes.
have a little attention kitty at my feet right now.
We love cats, but I'm like, okay, Theo, I love you dearly, but please don't trip. Please don't make me trip over you. So, if your best friend had to write a book about you, what would the title be?
Almost definitely more luck than sense.
More work
I
than
think
pets.
more luck than sense. I think that's the best way most of my friends would describe me.
And what is your favorite book?
So I would probably say I come back a lot to Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance as my, I guess, nonfiction ebook. Um, and I give two because I also love the book series, The Narnia Chronicles, which got me very interested in reading as a child. I attribute my love of reading to that series. But as an adult, I come back a lot to Robert Pirsig's Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
And so Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Well, you guys, go scoot, get Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. I know that Audible is giving a discount. I know that Libby and Overdrive are two platforms that the libraries use, and of course, this episode will be out in the next couple of weeks, and so I know that it's interesting times, but you guys should go read Zen the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. And so, David, what is your morning routine?
Pardon?
What is your morning routine?
So this is kind of a weird question. Let me be completely honest with you. Things have been very weird lately, and so I've had to change my morning routine. But I'm moving back towards it. I'll give you my general morning routine and my revised one. I wake up at 5. At 5:15, I start to meditate for 30 minutes. After that, I do a very short workout, body weight, and then I do my shower, brushing, etc. I eat breakfast, and beginning from 7 until 10 o'clock, I go through all of my emails. I read everything I need to read. I answer everything I need to answer, and then I begin actually doing work, whatever that might be for the day at 10. And that's my morning ritual. That includes also checking in my journal. I write what I need to do in my journal the night before. Lately, I've been skimping on both the meditation and the workouts for the past, I think, 8-day count now. I lapsed on purpose because I've just had so much to do, so I've been sleeping later. And so in order to make sure I get extra sleep, but also I'm able to finish a lot of the work I'm doing, because there's a lot of community work I'm doing right now, I spend a couple of hours later and then wake up later. But I've kind of caught up with all that, so I'll be transitioning back to my normal morning routine.
Well, at least you realize that your the normal morning routine has to come back. So, do you
Mm-hmm.
have any questions for me?
Yes. You told me to, you asked me about my story. I love stories, and I often like to ask people what their story is as a story. And I love getting the answers I receive. So I guess the very first thing I want to ask you is, how do you prefer to experience the plot of your life? And as some examples, you can say, do you see it as a quest, as defeating a monster? Do you see it as a comedy? Do you see it as rags to riches? What's the plot line structure for your life like, in your
I
preference and opinion?
I see it as legs to riches. I see it
Mm-hmm.
as a monster. My big monster that I'm defeating on a daily basis, and my big monster is a green monster and
Mm,
has a cerebral palsy. And I am fighting that monster alone.
yes.
Alone, alone. It will be a year that I've been fighting that monster alone. I am sitting here. I lost my mom in 2010, and I lost my dad on May 19th, 2020, at 2 a.m. May 19th. And I believe it was 2 a.m. because I didn't get the call until 3 a.m. But by 9 a.m. on May 19th, I knew that my life was going to change forever. So I've been fighting this green monster for 32 years, and this will be the first year. It's coming up on May 19th, and this will be the first year that I have been fighting this green monster alone, and with the help of my aides and with the help of my stepmom. But that's it. That's it. And I am banging the drum as a journalist, and I am just plowing right along. But every single day I have to wake up and put a smile on my face and deal with this heavy green, ridiculously heavy monster every single day. And I I I have to deal with it with grace and style. And to those of you who don't respect the journalism field right now, that's fine. But no, I have to deal with this monster of a beast, cerebral palsy, that I can't put in a box and put away. And I can't be done with it. I will never be able to body. I will never be able to shower myself. I will never be able to get myself dressed. I will always need help for the rest of my life. And I did not realize that I had cerebral palsy until 2020. I did not realize that because I was given little to no information about cerebral palsy due to it's a kid's disability and it's a lack of oxygen injury at birth. And my parents told me when I was in 7th grade, you have CP. And I had to research my own green monster, and I had to Google my own green monster when I was in high school and figure it out for myself. And then I was always told that it was bone joint, and then I learned slowly but surely that the full name of the type of cerebral palsy that I have is ataxic cerebral palsy, one of the most common cerebral palsies out there. And then I was brave enough to ask a PT and a PT student, would you consider cerebral palsy a bone and joint condition or neurological condition? And they both looked at me straight in the face and said, you have a neurological condition. And I didn't learn that until I was 2020, until I was in 2020. So essentially a couple months after my dad died, because my parents didn't tell me anything. My parents didn't tell me anything. And this is why I'm so banging the drum about the disabled, about disabled journalism, because I unfortunately didn't have the privilege or luxury of knowing the knowledge that I do now, knowing the knowledge that I gained now.
Yes, I couldn't even begin to be able to put in my own experience the knowledge of having a monster, as you describe it, that's always there, and then having those that were there not always be there, and to put that as a juxtaposition. But what I think is perhaps one of the most remarkably beautiful things is that you do choose to bang a drum, and you choose to make a mission of persevering as a being, and for yourself and for others, which is a hard thing to do. To I can relate to this in one respect. To do simultaneously for yourself and for others is one of the hardest balancing acts to do, especially when you feel like the others that were there for you aren't. That is the most powerful individual statement I see in people, and I heard it just now. So I asked for your plot And what you gave me was a plot, a narrative, and one of the most important human morals you can get from a story. And so in case you didn't know, in your story, you're a hero. That goes without saying. To be doing what you're doing right now in the name of journalism and information and awareness, and of course, doing what you do for yourself, that's tremendous.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And no, you guys, I'm just fine. I'm done. I'm fine because of everything that's going on. And I'm trying, you guys, so hard to bang the drum about cerebral palsy. And I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate the support, but um, at the same time, because it's so unknown, that
Yeah.
uh, cerebral palsy is so unknown. I don't know how I can bang the drum even louder to you guys, to have you guys understand what I have to do on a daily basis, what um what literally I have to do. I have to be that's why I get up at 6:30. Because I have to be present and bright on and bushy tailed from 8 a.m. on till about, I don't know, 5:30. And this is a monster that will not go away and will not leave. I can't put it in a box, and I can't um shove it under the bed. I wish I could. But I really need you guys to understand that people with cerebral palsy are few and far between, but I really need you guys to understand that we're trying, we want to succeed, but I don't know how bigger my drum has to get for you guys to get it. And this is why I say it's a monster that I have to deal with. And it's um it's gonna be an interesting monster in the next couple of years here once I obtain my journalism degree and
Mm-hmm.
to see where I go. But right now I am obtaining my journalism degree, and that's been an interesting process in itself. And so I just hope you guys will support me and essentially love those with disabilities for who they truly are. And I know that at the time when we're recording this, we're all struggling because it's April 14th, 2020, in the time of
Mm-hmm.
the coronavirus. But at the same time, you gotta respect the people with quirks, the
Mm-hmm.
quirks that I like to call disabilities. So that's my tearful speech, and I'm sticking to it.
I like the fact that you used the word quirk. There's something that's so non. It's such a benign word. It speaks to our differences. I've been within my own community trying to give people a greater awareness of all the populations being affected and have this conversation that, not all of us are affected by the same thing in the same way. We have a world right now where everyone is facing the same problem, but the experience is dramatically different. And trying to get people to become truly aware of it, to metabolize that information and digest it and swallow it and be fed by it is a struggle. It's a journey. I feel glad to hear you beat your drum because it's important. And I will let you know something about heroes and stories, especially stories like yours. Heroes and leaders tend to gather co-collaborators and co-conspirators. And enough people beating on that drum is harmony and rhythm. So keep it up, please.
Yep. And I know we're all struggling, but I'll be banging the drum as long as I can, and as long as I have a voice to bang the drum. But people, until they truly get to know me, they don't understand the big green monster that I have. And I call it the big green monster because cerebral palsy national awareness color is green, so that's why I call it the big green monster. And so where can people find you, and where can people get a hold of you?
So my social media everywhere is I am devonmscott.com. And my website is devonmscott.com. I should say I am Devon M. Scott. My website is devonmscott.com. It's pretty much the easiest way to find me on any social media platform, on Google, just my name. And I'm always doing something. I write books, or I'm always trying to do some local event or something with just trying to help people generally, in the only ways I know how to help people well.
Well, I appreciate your support, you guys, and I apologize for the weakness, but
Not at all.
David is not, you would say he's not at all, but my fan base goes, what, when it's weepy on the podcast? Well, yes, and I am struggling just as much as you guys, but we'll make it through this. But for right now, let's be safe, be happy, be healthy, be sane, and I'll catch you guys next week, and we'll see what next week brings, and I'll catch you guys later. Thanks. See you guys. Bye.
Thank you so much.
You just listened to Ask Win, the podcast. To become a guest in the show, visit our website at askwin.weebly.com or call 816-591-3399. Just look for Danielle. Connect with Win on Twitter at WinKellyCharles and like our Facebook page at Butterflies of Wisdom. You can also purchase Win's book through Amazon.com or get a copy of the audiobook through Audible. Ask Win, the podcast.